Okay, and let's talk about just general information very quickly on the examinations. I think I mentioned some of this before. The questions could be multiple choice, true and false, matching, fill in the blank, short answer, which means no more than two sentences, but most likely you could do it within one sentence, if that. There could be labeling or any combination of that, but there's no essay questions on here, okay? The final exam, again, this is a departmental thing that they put together. It's just going to be 80 multiple choice questions, all right? Yeah, spelling. It has to count, all right? If you're going into the medical field, it needs to be done. I know people are saying, well, we're going to just type everything. Yeah, but if you write something down, like the doctor is giving you orders over the phone, and you have to write something down, and you didn't have time to put it in the computer, so you tell the nurse's aide to do it. She's going to read your handwriting a little bit wrong, or he, whichever. You got to spell things correctly, okay? You're going to see words like efferent and afferent. We're going to use those words a few times in our course. One letter difference could make a big difference. Now, you look at words like asymptomatic and symptomatic. We just gone through a pandemic. A one-letter difference. You know, are you asymptomatic or symptomatic? We've been brainwashed what those two words mean. So it's important that that A is there or not. When later on, if you have to deal with pharmacology, if the doctor says, you know, I want 80 milligrams of Aricept to be given to the patient, and you write Oricept as opposed to Aricept, well, Aricept is a medication that's used for Alzheimer's disease, and Oricept is to change the pH in a person's blood. You need to get them right, otherwise you'll be given the wrong medication to the person. Lab errors, the most reasons why lab errors occur is because of a spelling error, okay? Even if you type it in, or you see it automatically go into the right word, well, we all know that sometimes that could go wrong. Believe me, I've texted someone with a swear word by accident. I didn't want that, but that's what we put it in. So you need to spell things correctly. It has to, okay, if you want to save lives. Let's face it, even a decimal point in the wrong place is going to kill a diabetic. So in medicine, we need to spell things correctly, and it needs to be legible, okay? So yes, there's going to be times when you have to write things down on dissections, so to say. You have to label things. You're going to be writing them, not typing them. I'll explain that later on. So it has to be legible also. Also, when you're dealing with abbreviations, make sure they are appropriate or they are proper abbreviations. We all know that when we write abbreviations for our own personal use, they can be just our own abbreviations when we write notes, right? I mean, I remember in high school and college, for me to write people, I didn't write P-E-O-P-L-P, or see, I can't even spell right. P-E-O-P-L-E, right? I just put P-E-O, that's it. I mean, really, how many words begin with P-E-O? I can't even think of another one. So if I just put PEO, I know that means people, but that is not a proper abbreviation, right? I mean, B/T is not the appropriate abbreviation that is out there. That's just something we created, but there is no proper way. So keep in mind when we deal with, let's say, oxygen, that the proper abbreviation is O2. Some students want to put down oxy. Well, you're going to find that oxy is actually an abbreviation for a hormone in endocrinology called oxytocin. So therefore, you need to use the proper abbreviations, the ones that are in my, in the book or in the textbook or in my PowerPoint and so forth. I'm using abbreviations like that, okay? But when we deal with exams, you got to use the proper ones. All right. The way I do things is if it's spelled incorrectly, as long as it's not another word, like if you put an A over here and it's just one letter, well, that's a different word. I'm not counting that because that would be totally wrong. But if you have a spelling error on something, I take a half of whatever it's worth. If it's worth 3 points, then you get 1.5 points for it. If it's worth 1 point, then you get a half a point for that. All right. Whether it's in the lab reports or if it's in your exams, like your practical exams, you got to type in words. So that's how I do that. Okay. So you get half of the value. When I was in college, they took the whole thing off. So I'm trying to be a little bit more generous here. All right. So the makeup policy, the time frame to notify me about if you want a makeup, all right, you must contact me before the exam due date arrives. Okay, I need proper documentation. It must be valid information within 2 days of the exam due date. Okay, this documentation must involve the entire exam time frame. Okay, that it is open. So if you have 7 days to do it, and the time, and it goes, let's say, I'm just giving you dates, January 1st to January 7th, and you got sick on January 4th, you had you have a strep throat, well, that didn't take the whole time. Does that make sense? You could have took the exam earlier, but then there's things like that that happen, okay? Or the opposite. In other words, you had the first January 7th to January, January 1st to January 7th. I know school doesn't happen during that week. I'm just giving you dates. So January 1st to January 7th, if you were not to go back to school until January 4th, you could still take the exam January 5th, 6th, and 7th. So it has to involve the entire exam time frame that it is open. All right. The documentation, just get it scanned and sent to me ASAP by way of the Blackboard mail that I showed you in Blackboard. I may or may not still approve the makeup depending on what is presented to me. I have to see what's going on, so it's case by case. Okay. If it is approved, then this is what I do with makeup with makeups. It will be given during the last week of the semester. The reason why I do that is because I don't want you to be studying for an exam that should have been taken, last week. That's going to slow down and make that snowball get bigger and bigger with all the new material coming up. So if you're going to be taking a makeup, I'd rather you do it a time when you're studying all the material, like a final exam. Well, you're hitting two birds with one stone with that. Okay. So it'll happen during the last week of the semester. I'll pick a date, or I'll choose a date that is going to be conducive for you and I. All right. A different exam will be given than others that received. And I'm not going to break this rule at all. There is no more than one makeup exam per semester, regardless of any kind of documentation. Okay. And if you miss an exam and you do not qualify for a makeup, a 0 will be placed for that exam. Now, let me just tell you, I think I've only done in the 15 years of it. Well, okay, let's say I've been here at this college for this, doing these remote things since 2021. And I think I had 2 people do makeups. So just giving you an idea on there, go through all the documentation, go through all these proper procedures, and I'll be able to put things together and see if it's approved for the makeup. Okay. All right. So let's talk a little bit about the online proctoring that we have over here. I put this. We use, as I mentioned many times before, smarter proctoring. I did put the email address over here. You won't ever need to go on there unless you have a certain question to go to, but you don't set up an account on there. You don't take any exam on there, but that is their website should you have any questions about it. Okay. Okay. So try and set this up when you take the syllabus quiz or the practice quiz. Try and set this up on day one. Get this out of the way. It feels so good to put an X in a checkbox. Believe me, believe me. Have this set up so you don't have to worry about this later on, because this can take 20 minutes to do or so. You don't want to be doing this when you're stressed out taking an exam. So just get this out of the way. Again, you could only use Google Chrome with this. All right, no smartphones, no tablets. Again, you're going to create an account when you do this syllabus quiz or practice or the practice quiz. The way you do it is you need to go to assessments in Blackboard, and then, as I showed you before, at the top of the next screen, you're going to see Smart Proctoring. That'll be the banner that you need to click on. Okay, and when you do that, it's going to give you instructions on how to go about setting up the account, and then you're going to look for that particular quiz or exam that you're looking for. Again, as I showed you, the instructions and protocol are also found in the syllabus folder that I showed you before. Okay. Again, it's a 24/7 proctoring service. On the day that you choose to take that exam that's supposed to be proctored, okay, make sure you take care of any bathroom issues, because you are not going to be allowed to leave that exam. The clock keeps on going and the video is going to go on. So do not leave there. I don't know if you're going to the bathroom or you're going to check for an answer. So make sure you take care of anything that you need to do. Okay. Be in an area that is less distracted. That's all on you. If you know there's a dog barking, you might want to take it downstairs in the cellar. You might want to take it in another place, the school, at the library. It's quiet, something like that. Okay. Make sure you're in a well-lit area. All right. It's better to have, if you're doing it where there's a window in the room, it's better to have the window in front of you than to have it behind you. All right. Just be mindful of this stuff. You can't have anything of notes, diagrams, charts on any of your walls or your desk area. No other digital devices, smartphones, tablets, even smartwatches. Okay. They should not be near you at all. You can't answer a smartphone, so make sure it's off. You can't have a dual monitor setup. All right. If there's a monitor next to you, just face it down. Okay. Get it out of the way, because when you do that 360 panning, I should only see one screen being up, the one that you're going to use. Dress appropriately. Whatever you would normally wear to school, that's what you should be wearing. All right. You guys, don't have it where you're going to not have a shirt on. Sometimes I might have to bring this video, not because of that, but if there's question about cheating, I might have to bring it up to the dean all the way up there. It's not going to look very good if you don't have a shirt on. So please just dress appropriately. Okay. I had a situation like that. That's why. Webcam, all right, make sure it's at the top of your screen, not on either side of your screen. It's required to be on the top of your screen. Do make sure you have your photo ID, and sometimes, not all the time, you may be able to use a scrap piece of paper, which is blank on both sides, okay? I will let you know prior to the exam if you're allowed to use that. If you're allowed to use a calculator, I will let you know beforehand. Like when the test opens, I'll let you know. But there will be an online calculator. You will not need to bring in a calculator. There will be one that you could click on and use during it. Open the exam that is found in assessments folder. And then you're going to go to that banner that's on the top that says Smarter Proctoring. Okay, and it will give you instructions on what to do. Face the screen. It'll take a photo of your face. That's where your face should be throughout the whole exam. Don't go down where I could just see the top of your head or one eye or something like that. It'll ask you to display your photo ID. Make sure you pan your webcam 360 degrees. I need to see the surroundings. As you do that, you could also pan it so that it's going down to either side of your keyboard to make sure that there's no notes or digital devices or anything in your vicinity, okay? You could tilt your webcam down, but it's probably easier when you do your 360 degrees. Again, if your camera, your webcam is a part of your screen and it's like a desktop screen, and it's difficult to lift it up because the wires are not too long, email me days before you take it. This is nothing new that's going to happen on the day that you're going to take it. So I'm not going to have too much empathy if you come to me the last day and say, look, it's a part of this, the webcam is a part of the screen, I can't do that. Well, and then you take it. Well, I would say you had days before. You need to email me and we would work on a situation that would work, whether you use your smartphone or more likely get a small mirror where you could actually face it towards your towards the webcam, and I could see either side of your walls, and it could show the desk and so forth. But I have to be sure I can see it. I'll give you directions on how to go about doing that. But make sure you do this before, days before, okay? You could do it on day 2 of your of class, okay? And we'll come up with some kind of setup. But most of you will have a webcam that you can actually move about, okay? Afterwards, you're going to reposition your webcam back to the top of your screen and it's facing you, okay? There is an area where you can actually click on just after you do these things, and it'll be on the left-hand side of the screen and it'll say live view. This is an option that appears that will allow you to see yourself in a little square, like Zoom, so to say, in a little square that you could bring down in the corner, and you can make sure that your face is always in view. I need to make sure that your face is in view of the screen. So I highly recommend that you do this and you just take a look at yourself and just make sure that you could actually see your whole face. If there's a point where you're leaning towards the left side and I'm only seeing your cheek, that could be taken as cheating. So I need to make sure that I can see where your eyes are looking, okay? So be sure that you do this live view. It is going to be very helpful for both you and I. Okay, so again, if your face goes out of frame, this can be taken as looking at nodes or diagrams. So I just want to make sure you're holding the integrity and have that little live view. Once all this thing happens, just begin your exam. Once the exam begins, the clock will then start, and there'll be no pausing. Again, keep your eyes on the screen. It's the only place that you should be looking at. You won't be able to visit any other websites. If you try to do that, I will get alerts and I will say that that is a form of cheating. You should not be needing to go to another website, okay? Do not get up from your seat, as I mentioned to you before. Do not answer the phone. As I told you, really, your phone should be off at that time. I think you could handle 75 minutes without a phone being on. You would have to do that anyway in a live class. You might as well do it right here, okay? Take all your phone calls before and just handle that. Put a do not disturb sign on your door for 75 minutes. I think you can handle that. Once you're done, just submit your exam when you're completed, and your exam grade should pop up there. However, especially when it comes down to the lab exams, but I had occasions with the lecture exams, the grade that you receive immediately may not be the true score. I need to still review what was done with the video that was taken, and the computer grades things, but I got to manually grade it myself because they could be wrong too. So that can take up to 48 hours after the due date of that exam, not 48 hours after you take the exam, 48 hours of when it's due. Okay, so if it's due at 5 o'clock on Saturday, give me until Monday at 5 o'clock that your grade won't change, okay, or will change. So integrity issues for all exams, lecture quizzes, the quest and bonus quiz. No reviewing of any of the exams or quizzes once you submit them. Okay. The reason why is, in other words, this is saying you can't go back and review what you received right and wrong. I'm sorry about this. I need to make sure, because these are the same exams and quizzes that I'm doing for future courses. I've had many times in the past where a student failed or withdrew from my course, and now they're taking the course again with me. I don't want to have it where they took pictures of all these exams and now they have all the questions. That's not fair to everybody else. So I need to make sure that. Whoop. Sorry, I jumped ahead on this thing. Let me just go back. Okay. Okay. So sorry for this in advance. So this is what I'm going to do instead, okay? Because I still think it's important that you do review it if you're requesting it. You can ask for a Zoom meeting with me, and I will show you the quiz or the exam. You see what you got right and wrong. You cannot take any notes. Okay, you can see what you got right and wrong. However, you will only be able, and this is a Blackboard thing, you will only be able to see what the correct answer is and what answer you put. So if the correct answer was C and you put B, those are the only two. You won't see A, D, and E. So if E was all the above, I wouldn't know that because I didn't memorize all these questions, but I don't remember what those questions were. So you're only going to see those two choices. But you will be able to see that only if you request it. We should only spend no more than 20 minutes to do that. Just letting you know. The other thing I can do, if you email me, I can also look over your exam or quiz, and I can list highlights of what I believe you need to correct in your studies from what I saw that you got wrong. And I could just send that to you. Again, only if you request it, but I could do those one or two things for this, okay? But other than that, sorry for this in advance. There's also going to be a long laundry list of do's and do nots that are listed in your syllabus, around pages 22, 23, something like that. So make sure you read those, make sure you understand all of those, make sure if you have any questions that you email me days before the exams. I will be looking at all those things of what to do and what not to do. Okay, so it's very important that you look through those. I don't need to list them over here. They're pretty straightforward. The allowed time for all these exams to occur. For the syllabus quiz, you get 10 questions, you get 30 minutes for that. A lecture exam number 1 through 3, questions usually between 75 and 80. You'll get 75 minutes. The final exam, which is departmental, you'll have 75 minutes to answer 80 questions. The practical exams, the lab exams, so to say, 1 through 3, you'll get 50 questions with 45 minutes to take each one. The lecture quizzes, you'll have 10 questions for 14 minutes. The quest, as I said, they're very short answers, quick answers. You'll be definitely able to do 50 questions in 25 minutes. And the bonus quiz, which you can take up to 2 times, you'll get 55 minutes to answer 60 questions. Okay. And the practice quiz that I mentioned to you, it's not graded. Points will not affect your grade. It won't help it. It won't hurt it. So don't worry about it. It's 12 questions that pertain to basic A&P that you may have already learned. Some basic stuff. Like if someone said cardiology is the study of the kidney, the heart, the stomach, the brain, or the skin. basic kind of stuff. Okay. Answer was, yeah, heart. Okay. You must use the smarter proctoring to access this. Explore this on day 1 and day 2. Get acquainted on how my online exams are formatted. Take as many times as you want to go through this. Like I said, it doesn't hurt or help your exam or your grade rather. It's mainly to get acquainted to my testing style and the test format on Blackboard. It's also to get you somewhat acquainted with some of the features of smarter proctoring, because you'll be taking it through smarter proctoring. Okay. This one, however, I will allow you to review your answers because it really has nothing to do with your grade. So you can see what you got right and wrong on those. But all the other exams and quizzes, no, you're not allowed to see that unless you request it, and we will have it. Either I email you a list of what you got wrong, or I proctor as you look over the exam under my control. Okay.